G'day, Damien here from Automotive Superstore, and today we're going to be checking out Clarion's Fx450 double-din Apple CarPlay and Android Auto head unit. Let's start with the very basic features you need to know about. First of all, this is what's called a mechless head unit. Mechless means there's no CD transport, no DVD transport. That keeps the cost down, and who uses that anyway? The other thing is that allows the chassis to be very shallow. And that means there's a lot more room for wiring and stuff behind the head unit, so you're not cramming your head unit in when you're trying to install it. Makes it nice and easy to install. Besides that, it's got 4x50 watts maximum of internal amplification. In real world terms, it's about 22 watts RMS, which is great for modern cars with reasonable noise floors. If you've got something loud like a convertible or a truck or something like that, maybe consider an aftermarket amplifier to add to this, but 22 watts RMS is enough for most applications. It has a single USB connection from the rear that provides 1.5 amps of charging for your phone, which is cool. It also has front, rear and subwoofer outputs with 3 volts RMS of signal voltage. Why is that good? Well, the higher the signal voltage, the lower the noise floor in the car, because you can turn the input sensitivities on your amplifiers down. The higher voltage also resists induced noise from other components within the car. So connecting your Apple iPhone to the USB connection launches into the Apple CarPlay home screen. This gives you access to the key important apps that you need from your phone, and it's a much safer way of navigating that information in your phone while driving. Of course, you've got your music. If you come back to the main menu, phone, messages, podcasts and that sort of thing. Apple Maps is the default map that you'll get on the front page, but if you swipe across, you'll have Google Maps and Waze and other navigation apps. You also get WhatsApp and things like digital radio apps, which is a good cheap way to get digital radio in your car. Come back across and hit the Clarion logo and it'll launch into the unit's own main menu and give you access to its own settings. Android Auto connection works exactly the same via USB, and instead of going into the CarPlay app, you go into Android Auto, hit the home button, and there are your apps on your Android phone, except you swipe up instead of swiping to the side. You can customize everything, access to your phone, messages, music, and that sort of thing. And again, come back to the Clarion main control menu. Let's have a look at the audio adjustments, which is where you can make a good sounding car sound great. First of all, you've got the equalizer. Gives you a generous 13-band graphic EQ or a bunch of preset EQ curves. You can cycle through those and see which one you like, or set your own curve. Next is the time alignment zone. Now, a bit of a technical aspect this is how you can delay each speaker in the system to align them in time to arrive at the listening position at the same time. It's a bit of a technical subject, and if you want to know more about that, go down in the comments section and maybe we'll do a tech feature on that later on. If you don't really know what you're doing, it's going to sound best if you just leave it alone as the default. Alternatively, in music zone, this is a poor man's version of time alignment, let's call it. So you can sort of emphasize where you want the sound to be, and that's really something that you want to listen to in the car and see what you prefer. Sometimes it just sounds great to leave it in the middle. This is one of the most important areas. It's the crossover section. And here you can adjust the low pass and high pass filters for each speaker to make sure they're only running the frequency band they play well in. For example, the front, I can turn the crossover on. It's a high pass filter. I can adjust the slope from 6 to 12 to 18 to 24 dB. And that's the steepness of the slope. I can also adjust the frequency all the way from 30 Hertz up to 250. What do those numbers mean? Well, for let's say a 6-inch speaker, you want a high pass filter of around 80 Hertz. If you've got a small dash speaker like a 4-inch, 200 is probably going to sound better for you. The same is true of the rear speakers, and the subwoofer you can also set for as low as, well, you wouldn't go much lower than 60 Hertz. 60 to 80 Hertz is about right. And a nice 24 dB per octave steeper slope is going to sound great. Coming down in the menu, we'll find bass boost. Unless you really know what you're doing, you can do more damage than good here, but with cars that don't have separate subwoofers, sometimes if you're very careful with how you do it, a little bit of boost really helps smaller speakers sound a bit more fulsome, but don't get carried away with it. Lastly, we have source gain. I really like this feature. What it is every single source that you've got, you can set the default volume level. And sometimes when you switch between radio or Bluetooth or the music on your phone to radio again, the levels between those aren't quite consistent, and you can adjust that here so there's a smooth transition from source to source. That's a great feature. Another nice feature via the USB, if you've got a little flash drive and you load a video file of AVI, MPEG or MP4 format up to 720p of resolution, it will play those video files for you. And even though this is technically a standard definition screen at 480p, a 720p video looks magnificent. So there you have it, the Clarion Fx450 head unit. A great little head unit for the price, and it gives you everything you really need to get started in CarPlay and Android world. If you want to see us review any other head units, go ahead and put a comment below, down there somewhere. While you're at it, hit subscribe and like. Why not? See you next time.